you'd have probably read the intro about me, but I just like, give a small brief. Um, I am an engineer, then an MBA, then a consultant, and on the side, this is my career. On the hobby front, I am a storyteller, and that started when I started internships with ad agencies. This was my third year of engineering. So I started storytelling as a profession by copywriting for brands. Then moved on to becoming a marketer, which is again storytelling in some sense. So you're sticking to your brand story. Then I moved to consulting, where you tell stories for other folks, for your clients on their behalf. And you tell stories that you want to structure well so that the person who's listening or who's reading can make a sense of the story. Very simply, how most plays have three acts: Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. You set up something, you create that first question or first instance of drama that people know, okay, this is what I'm going to continue watching for. And in the act two, you intensify the drama, you add loops to it, you add twists to it, and in the third act, you conclude it. But that's basically storytelling, right? And that's what we did in consulting as well. So this was my career, right? So I've always told stories as a career. Also on the side, I pursued my hobbies, which was poetry, songwriting, and comics, which is, I think, what most of you here know me for, and which is why I've been invited to give this TEDx, which is my storytelling as an artist, as a comic artist, as a poet, as a writer, and not as a professional. But maybe what I want to do on this talk is tie the two. Create a structured approach to storytelling, which might sound a little oxymoronic, because ideally you would think of storytelling, or in general art, as a completely creative field where you would rather think out of the box, you would rather be innovative, original, you would rather be completely fresh and new, and therefore structures might only hinder your progress or create a box, make constraints, or jail your thoughts. I like to think that structure helps you get a sense of direction. Structures help you collect your thoughts better. Structures help you um, put things in perspective for your audience. Internally, you could be a wild creative person, but when you need to express, when you're telling the story, the audience might not be as imaginative or as creatively gifted as you are, and therefore they might need help and support with the structure. And that's why this talk is about not creating stories but telling them. So that's what we'll do. The first thing we'll cover is expressing an idea. Second is to the right audience. And third is in your style, so that you're building a story and a narrative and not just talking or giving a monologue. Um, because I mean, yeah, you have to tell the audience that listen, picture abhi baki hai mere dost. There is more to follow. That's why you have cliffhangers. That's why you have twists. That's why you have ads on that specific point when the things have just heated up. Because you've told people that something is coming after this. So wait for it. So we start with three harsh realities of content world, right? First is authenticity is impossible. You have to realize that to be completely original, to invent an idea is, I call it impossible. That's a very strong word, but I like to think of it as impossible because otherwise you put pressure on yourself and you start judging yourself for not being completely original. The problem is there are 7 billion people in this world today. Billions of more have come across history. So, as a human, you have already been given so much stimuli and so many thoughts of other people that to completely disregard them and ignore them and dissociate them from your brain and build an idea or a story which has zero impact or zero, let's say, impression of the millions of experiences that you have had is impossible. You'll have to be zen to be able to break your head into two minds, one which has experienced the world and one which is fresh and new. So don't put the pressure of being completely original. It's fine if you're not. Hardly anyone else. Organic is dead. And that's more about, creating a reach. And why this matters in storytelling is today on social media channels, on platforms that exist in the world, it is very difficult to find and reach to out to the audience organically. You'll have to use certain hacks, certain ways the algorithm works, and therefore how you tell the story changes, right? If Instagram is pushing reels more, your storytelling format becomes videos. There's nothing you can do about it. So your storytelling has to take into consideration what the platform is on which you're telling the story and what works better on the platform. And third, like I said, it's difficult to be original, and even if you are, it is overrated because the audience doesn't care, right? You might know that you have been influenced by Franz Kafka, or you might have been influenced by Tolstoy, or you might have been influenced by someone very recent and popular, for instance, let's say SRK, right? Audience might not know. And even if you are original, and which means that people might not know that you have copied, but it also means that there is no way for audience to know whether you're original or not. So people start discounting things that they cannot guarantee, right? No one can guarantee as audience is this creator an original creator. And therefore they start valuing originality less and they start valuing entertainment and engagement more. Listen, you entertain me, I don't care where did you get your content from. I am happy because now you're a channel, you're a storyteller. I look at you as a creator, as a writer, as a copy artist, as somebody who's giving me something. What is your source? Is it your brain or is it somebody else's brain? I don't care. You can be a curator for all it matters, and I'll still be your fan because you curate really well. That's what museums do, right? They don't sit and create their own, they don't commission their own artwork, they curate them. And that's what makes them great, the curation. Section one, I call it Ja Kuch Bhi Kar, harnessing the power of wild imagination. Like I said, your idea, your imagination can be as wild as you want. Think outside of structures. But once you have done that, start putting your thought in a structure so that you can express it better. So the first step is to not contain yourself when you're thinking and creating the story. Jao, kuch bhi karo, be wild. And once you have an idea, how to convert it into a story is what this is about. Act 1, you set it up. You find the beginning, the starting point, the clickbait title, or you start with a question, or you make a claim, right? Did you know what happened at this time? You know what BuzzFeed did with clickbaity headlines? Or you make a claim, the dark horse of Indian startup ecosystem is not Nisho, it is some other company. Now people want to know, okay, why did you say that? What will back up this claim? That's your act one, your title. Then act two is content. Write the meat. Bring in your flavor, right? The facts don't change. Let's say you are covering the rise of Geo from 2016 to 2022, 6 years. The facts don't change. The numbers don't change. The history doesn't change because that is reality. How you express it, how do you structure the story? Do you add humor? Do you add drama? Do you use English? Do you use Hindi? Do you use simple language? Do you use complicated words? That's your flavor. That is where you can be original, and that's your act two. You make a statement. And act three, you end with a moral, a punchline, or a twist, or a counter question. An example could be, this was the decade of free internet. What is the next innovation? And then you end your article, right? So now you have given someone to think something or take something back or put work after reading your article. And that makes them connected to your article because if they come up with an answer, you will always be the teacher who gave that question to them. Or you end with a joke. I can't think of a joke right now, but I'll move. But the idea is that yes, act one, make a claim, write a question, or pick up something popular. Take someone else's name because they are more popular and people will click on it. Because if you take, let's say, Alia Bhatt's name today, people might want to click, okay, what about Alia Bhatt is this news on? Second, write the content. Third, end with a joke, a counter question, or a moral. Try to follow the structure, you will be able to write and construct your thoughts better. Lesson two, कहना क्या चाहते हो? Now that you have the idea, you have structured it, it's time to express it. And that is where your aspects of content come. The medium are text, images, text plus images, audio, video, mixed media. Text, Twitter. Images, I'd say originally Instagram, which was before Reels came in. Text plus images, LinkedIn is trying that, right? Audio is Clubhouse, podcasts. Video is YouTube primarily. Mixed media is today, I think, Instagram, where you have text, you have images, where you have stories, you have Q&A, you have polls, you have videos, everything. Then you look at the life of it. Is the content going to be consumed like this and people will move on? Or is this content which people will keep with them? It takes time to consume and it sticks around with people for a long time. Like the biggest example is religious books. It takes time to consume them and it stays with you for your lifetime. While a meme is, some memes do stay with you, but the idea of a meme is ki, haan, I saw it, I liked it, I shared it, and I moved on. And then user engagement. Is your user going to engage with this actively? Is your content a poll, a question in which the user also gives some input? Or is it a passive engagement, which is I read something and I moved on? Momentary and time taking is, like I said, am I reading, watching, listening, and moving on in maybe less than a minute? Or is it going to take some time for me to absorb the content, read it? Like a 600-page book is time taking, a 40-word tweet is momentary in terms of how much time it takes for me to consume it and how long it stays with me while consumption. Engaging in consumption is, am I interacting with the artwork? Am I interacting with the content? Am I thinking about it? Am I responding to it? Consumption is, listen, it's one way. The creator gave it to me, I absorb it, that's it. I am not going back with some feedback or with some thoughts. And let's take an example, time taking and engaging. Poetry, storytelling, long form analysis. When you read a poetry that's been written to invoke some emotions, to invoke some thoughts, it takes time to understand what the author wanted for you to listen and feel. Because every word, every line could have hidden meanings. It could have hidden context from the life of the author or from some part of history or some way the words have been structured that makes it poetic, right? So it takes time for you to consume a piece of poetry. Now, let's look at the pros and cons. Again, this is a very big table. We can't cover all of it, but let's stick to time taking and engaging. Let's stick to poetry. It's technically, I'm going to say it's sexy. For instance, momentary and engaging is cool. Oh my God, this is so amazing. Let me share it with people. Momentary and consuming is a friendly person. Oh, I like you. Double click. Time taking and consuming is the most popular. Music, big movies. Because you take time to consume, then you share, you give it to people, they also like it, they also share it. A lot of things happen. Sexy is when you're like, listen, I really like it. It's intimate. I'm going to keep it with myself. And that's poetry. That's stuff that touches you, right? So I have tried to give some characteristics to different type of content. And then you have to think, do you want to be cool? Do you want to be a friendly creator? Do you want to be popular or do you want to be sexy with your content? And that's how then you can fit your content into the structure. Um, and what makes you win in this type of content, right? When you want to be cool, you want to be witty and aesthetically pleasing because someone should be impressed by you like this and they should want to be with you. When you want to be sexy, you want to be intimate. You want them to feel you, and therefore you have to feel them, and therefore you have to be empathetic. If you want to be friendly, you have to be real time. You have to care for people's on the spot emotions. So your timely humor, you have to talk about trends, you have to talk about news, and then create content on it. Versus if you want to be popular, you have to be able to put in effort into what you're creating, be consistent so that more and more people, more and more people, more and more people like, share, comment on your content. And that's why you become popular, mainstream popular. See where you fit in. Are you witty? Are you empathetic? Are you on the spot timely? Or can you put in diligent work and do this day in, day out so that you can become popular in the long run? And then you can see what content works for you. आओ तुम्हें संडास दिखाता हूँ. I put this line specifically for one reason and I'll tell you what. But you have to evoke emotions in your audience. No matter what content you write, it either has to be awesome. Oh my God, I am awed by this. It has to be awe. Awe, so cute. Or it has to be awe. What did they just say? Oh my God, so scandalous. So awe or awe. That's, I think, my structure for content. See where you fit in, see what you like, and try to create content on that. Um, Now, once you've started doing this, right, you've figured out what your idea is, you've structured it, you've put yourself in these three matrix, and therefore you know whatever creator you are, and you've tried to figure out whether you're a awe or haw creator, how to keep doing this again and again. One single piece of artwork doesn't make you a creator. It makes you a one-hit wonder. A body of artwork accumulates respect, popularity, wealth, following, and that's what you need to do. So you have to create an infinite content engine, right? The common saying goes, the bread always lands on the buttered side, and a cat never lands on its face. So if you put a bread with buttered side on the cat's face, it will keep rotating because it can never fall, because the bread can't land on the butter and the cat can't land on the face. So yeah, I mean, so yeah, see, right? So creating an infinite content engine is something you need to figure out. And there are very simple hacks. Either you go completely internal, you start talking about your life and your experiences, and that is called meta. Or you start taking inspiration from some source like news, or like you start following some celebrities, and whatever happens in their life, create content on them. So that becomes a constant source of inspiration. Or you take multiple sources and keep creating content on a theme, but you have multiple sources.